got. Okay, it's going to be. This is the left flank for VNS in the bottom left of the map. So this is ACCM in teal, with Chinese facing off against Emin for 13th Legion with Hun's flank in purple. Pocket positions over here, yellow with Huns. So we've got both Hun civilizations on both sides of this map. Of course, something that always trips up streamers and just like gets you in kind of tongue-tied is when VNS yellow is not playing in yellow. He's playing in grey this time. Over here, Yannick pocket Mongols for 13th Legion in blue. So that's one side of the map. Opposite flanks, we have Fish or Chocopi Orion in orange as main flank. That's really nice to have that, because obviously my pocket is really hard to play unless you're going to sling. Versus Spanish flank Iridium, that feels like Melkor is going to have a bit of a tough time. Melkor in red over here. And then finally their pockets are going to be Mongol pocket in green, VNS cool, and Vodka Mayan pocket over here. And wow, this is the big thing that stands out to me from looking at the civilization positions so far. We've got Vodka as Mayan pocket, and obviously pocket civilizations typical play is building stables, of course, supporting their flank with knights or perhaps camels. And obviously, like sling coming into play can change things up a bit. But if Vodka isn't slinging, then he's going to be going for plumed archers from pocket, and that typically takes a couple more minutes to get going at the start of Castle Age, getting the villagers on stone, the castle up, and then plumed archers out to support the flank. And meanwhile, you got Melkor over here. It's playing Spanish flank, which is obviously really hard because the standard Drush fast castle crossbow plays out of the picture, and he's absolutely miles away from Vodka. That's quite a big distance between the flank and the pocket, so he's kind of not only reinforcements from the pocket are going to be coming quite slowly, but he's also like in terms of actual production, but they've got a long way to come. And I'd say Melkor could be in for a tough time here, because Spanish flank is notoriously hard to play, of course. I'm gonna predict that he probably goes knights rather than conquistadors, because he won't have any knights coming from pockets. And you know, if you're Spanish flank, which is always difficult, then you do not want to be facing off against the Mayan flank, which is a really great flank civ, and obviously you'd much rather have them on the flank than pocket. But Melkor will have an easier time probably if he actually gets slung from the Mayan pocket, which, you know, given the distance and the fact that the plumed archer play from the pocket is just so slow to support, it may well be that they do sling, and indeed they could have been planning that before the match. Although I've seen Vodka kind of carry this team quite strongly on the game that I casted as Mayans, so they may actually want to get him involved in the fight rather than the slinging. We'll see. But beyond that, we've got Mongol pocket over here, which, you know, like typically you would probably have them over it as one of the two flank civs, I would have thought. But you know, like pocket's perfectly fine. It allows them to have a bit of a safer boom and get towards that Mongol post-Imperial Age kind of like steamrolling much faster. Well, not necessarily much faster, but in kind of made perhaps much safer with a larger economy. I'm interested to see. I think obviously we're going to see Drush from Melkor and Drush from Mayans. Also Drush on both flanks over here. Let's have a look. Yeah, I'm just looking at. Obviously, I'm looking at the numbers on wood to decide that. I guess we'll see barracks coming up from all of the flanks pretty soon. Looks like a boar steal actually took place over here whilst I was looking over on the far side. We have 3 boars under the TC of Emin, so he, as Huns, took a boar from ACCM's Chinese, and that's never good. I mean, like, Chinese starts obviously can be very kind of random, depending on how well you find your sheep and stuff like that, but I wasn't looking, because I started over here originally to kind of see how ACCM fared in those first few seconds, whether he found his sheep quickly or not, and whether he's got a good start. But if you look at his villager number, he's roughly in line with everyone else, so not too bad. But losing a boar as Chinese, especially when you're having to drush as well, it's never ever good, and that's going to give Emin a nice advantage, and especially with a great fast civ like Huns, who are obviously equally at home on the flank or on the pocket really. Obviously you prefer them in the pocket, but Huns can play flank no problem. And it seems like even though over here Melkor's probably going to have a little bit of trouble on his flank, the 13th Legion has gained the advantage on the other flank. Have a look what the Xing is. ACCM Xing his own TC. I don't know whether he's... Yeah, I think somebody's actually... Yeah, the start from that he's had with Emin stealing his ball has probably set him behind and kind of struggling with food production, and he's actually requested a sheep from his pocket, which is VNS yellow in the grey. A little bit of in-game lag then, although... God, is Emin actually going to intercept the sheep? I do know he hasn't seen it, so that's not going to set VNS back even more. ACCM doing the best that he can though to kind of just wall in all of his resources and keep the drush of Emin away from his lumber camp and stuff. Obviously the berries are going to be a little bit exposed, but ACCM did at least manage to get his drush out early enough. It wasn't that the actual drush itself wasn't too delayed by losing the ball. See here that 13th Legion got 2 scouts in the picture though, and ACCM's own scout is a bit idle and nearly dead, so Emin is going to have the better time with the drush over here. Feels like he's microing a lot better as well. There's a lot of kind of free hits came in against ACCM's militia when he was trying to take that hill, etc. Mongol suggesting Mongol scouts, is that? Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. Thanks for kind of alerting me to that in the chat, because this reminds me that Yannick did this from scouts from pocket repeatedly whenever I saw him play those games that I casted versus the old men. He did it in every single game pretty much, or certainly more than one. And it's something that he seems to like to do. I remember in one of those games it kind of just didn't pay off for him at all. So hopefully he's expecting a better... Well, he will be hoping for a better result than that this time. Let's have a look how Melkor's faring. Seems like he's done okay, because his drush is actually in the base of Chocopi Orion or Fish. It looks like his scout went down, but I don't see the eagle for Fish anywhere either, so it seems like both players possibly just lost their scouts. All of the militia down for ACCM, and that leaves 2 militia for Emin, still able to be a bit of a nuisance value, although one of them is almost dead, so the utility of those remaining militia is going to be severely reduced. You see ACCM's kind of wants to get rid of these barriers pretty quickly, because they're so exposed, and really it's the only place that he could be harassed. Scouts coming in for Yannick though, and he could very well pick off a villager or two on these berries in combination with the militia from Emin. I really do think that ACCM is going to have a little bit of trouble here, because he's his food income severely reduced. He's going to have to drop some farms in order to get to Castellagia anytime soon. So they're kind of a smooth transition into crossbows as a flank is kind of out of the picture for him for now, I would say. Although he may not be too delayed looking at it, because he did drop off that deer food, but at least one of those villagers is going to go down as long as Yannick micros correctly, just stops getting blocked by the villager that's in front of the hurt one. Although potentially 2 could go down if Yannick just kind of chases this down a little bit better. Yeah, 2 actually. I didn't see that male one was going on to low HP. So ACCM's having a horrible time here. Only got 6 farms, and they're not even working, and 200 food to make up, so whilst he's running his TC, he's not going to be banking that extra 200 food that he'll need anytime soon, and he's going to be having to hang around in the feudal age for a while, whereas I'm going to guess Emin is already halfway to the castle age, so that's going to be really tough for ACCM. At the same time, though, obviously Yannick will be a bit slower to the castle age than the pocket for ACCM, so we could see VNS Yellow coming back the other way with knights. He's only on one stable for now, though, so he's not going to be able to go back and deal huge amounts of damage to the opposite team. So it feels like 13th Legion have a solid advantage on the left flank. Let's have a look what Vodka's do. Sorry, yeah, it is Vodka in the yellow with mines. He's definitely slinging, of course. We can see stone walls coming up. And I think that's a great choice because the Mayan, even though I thought he played exceptionally well for 13th Legion as Mayans, it would just be so difficult for him to support Melkor in this situation. Melkor's walling himself in nicely in terms of actually closing it off, but he's giving himself very little room to work with. You can see that the walls for Fish are much more extensive, and he's securing a nice area of land for himself there. Less of the sarcasm, Milmano. We'll wait and see until later on. So both pockets for VNS on one stable. I mean, you'd expect that from the Mongols because they obviously want to boom it up more than simply just going all in on knights. How's Yannick doing? Yannick is approaching the castle age, just still on one stable as Mongols as well for now. So we'll probably see both blue and green just kind of booming a fair amount while just doing some knights, maybe some camels, whilst I think Emin probably gets the better of ACCM over here. I'm gonna guess that Yellow will do some kind of mini boom and then drop stables and absolutely flood knights. I've seen him do that a number of times, and even in 1v1 it's kind of a strategy that he sometimes employs if he's not doing his favourite forward. For now, though, I'd say ACCM, despite kind of walling himself into this tiny area, has done okay because one tower was able to protect and move Emin away from all of his wood and gold resources for now. But he'll need to reclaim some more land a bit later on. He can't afford to stay cooped up in this forever. You see that his second and third golds are really forward, and Emin's going to be able to threaten those quite well. Over here, as I predicted, Melkor is going knights. I want to work out who is receiving the sling from Vodka. I'm going to assume it's Melkor, but I will just check the achievements in a little while just to double check that. He actually only has two stables. I will just check to see who's receiving the sling so we don't... Yeah, Melkor, of course. But he's able to beat back VNS Fish quite nicely because it's, two stable knights versus some crossbows. Bit more powerful. He probably actually has that +2 armor upgrade already and bloodlines. So crossbows from Fish are not going to be too effective in open ground against Melkor. See Emin almost finding a way in here though, although he allowed ACCM to drop that siege workshop and just plug the hole. Yannick's now in Castle Age starting to make some knights, and he's going to be a bit behind VNS Yellow, the opposing pocket, in terms of boom, but for now, with both players just on the one stable each, it's not going to make too much of a difference militarily, which means that Emin will just continue pushing his advantage 1v1 against ACCM, or potentially he could just go to Yellow and see what he can do, although Yellow's got lots of TCs and a fairly nicely laid out base to protect against that. We can see the two players here coordinating well. Emin's actually going to try and raid, and Yannick's going to try and see if he can find some more targets for Emin to hit with his cavalry archers as well. The other side is looking kind of a bit passive at the moment. Like Melkor is getting ready to force the issue, building a siege workshop so he can break into the base of Fish, but for now he's just massing up. So let's have a look at the raiding on this side. just a one village, well, I said 2 villages going down, 3 villages for VNS Yellow. But he's still actually the second largest villager count in the game at the moment. But considering that ACCM is far behind, you can see he's only on 35 villages, and now Yellow's mini boom is just being completely interrupted by all of this idle time and raiding. I feel like the 13th Legion are just playing this flank really intelligently. Over here, we can see one mangonel out for Melkor now while he tries to get in here, and VNS Fish doesn't want to lose all of that crossbow mass by getting too close. Fish is gonna go for a monastery as well, to potentially getting some monks out to help him defend against the slung knights. But also obviously those 2 buildings serving as Imperial Age advancements, although I don't think he'll be thinking about that for a while yet. And now Yannick's even over here with a few knights, but he's just chasing down knights of VNS Yellow. And just looking at VNS Yellow's base, like, he didn't lose huge amounts of villagers, but he was on similar villager number to his adjacent pocket, VNS Cool, and now he's about 10 behind. But obviously Mongol player trying to get onto that 4th CC quickly. And now Green, the Mongol player, VNS Cool pocket for VNS, is going to be dropping multiple stables, probably just going heavily into camels to deal with Melkor, because Melkor's now actually going to come onto him. But the unfortunate thing is that Cool was going to help out his ally, and just as he gets there, Melkor just floods knights into his base, so it's just bad timing from him. But he couldn't have known that unless his scouting was just superb. Meanwhile, Emin and Yannick are kind of probably just concentrating on booming. Maybe they think they've got enough ahead in kind of eco terms that they just want to mass up a bit now and not just be constantly microing the raiding. You can see that Yellow and Yannick are both identical in terms of villager count, even though Yannick was up much later and got into multiple TCs much later. So the raid on Yellow is really successful, and ACCM is still a very long way behind. Melkor's Knight's not really able to do something though, because Cool's camels came back in time, and we can see that, you know, several knights have gone down, and I don't really think that very many villagers have gone down at all for VNS Cool. A couple here or there, but he's really had the most villagers to start off with anyway. What this is doing though is forcing lots of nice idle time, because Cool's boom was proceeding quite well on 4 town centres, and now almost every villager is idle inside the town centres, and that's really nice to sort of delay the Mongols to that extent. Melkor clicking up to the Imperial Age with the sling, but he's just focusing on raiding the pocket for now, because he can't get into the Mayan base. And we can see that after massing up a little bit, Emin and Yannick are back. Yellow has just so few knights, so I was expecting to see him kind of mini boom and then just go up onto quite a number of stables and spam some knights from the pocket as Huns, but his military numbers throughout this game have remained really low. Yannick's got more knights than him on the field, and Emin's military is just far more powerful than Yellow. And ACCM in military terms hasn't really been contributing to this game, because he's just been forced to defend. He's coming to help out VNS Yellow, but I haven't really seen his crossbows engaging too much in any kind of fights or in this game. So as well as kind of falling behind in villager terms, he's been very passive in military, and that's down to the bad start that he had. Emin taking his boss when he was Chinese, and perhaps didn't have the greatest start. He certainly wasn't ahead with a nice Chinese start. That left him quite behind. Let's have a look at villager counts for VNS Cool. We can see he's down to 70, and he's actually much lower than, well, not much lower, but lower than a lot of other players in the game, when a while ago he was on 65 when every other player was on sort of 50-55. So this raid / full on attack by Melkor has really set VNS Cool so far back, and that's just great to delay the Mongols to that extent. Don't know what Yannick's plans are with that, hiding those knights down in the corner. So I was just checking something on my phone to do with the stream. What have we got then? Melkor reaching the Imperial Age now. I'm just trying to see how much armor he's got. Only 14. I guess he was probably kind of using some of the sling to kind of increase his own economy as well. But he's reaching the Imperial Age with immediately doing Cavalier and with 1,000 food and gold in the bank. So Paladin is not going to take much time at all to get done. And from that point, I think it's just going to be producing a lot of Paladins. Obviously, one thing I didn't point out at the beginning of the game, Spanish trade could be a difference between the two teams if the game goes on very long, and we can see that Melkor really wants to get that trade going already so he can continue to flood Paladins without any kind of interruption where the gold runs out, but then the trade, before the trade picks up. I don't know if, yeah, Vodka's still in the feudal age, so he's definitely still slinging. There's no sign of him quitting out of that for now. See that Fish is making some monks preemptively to help against the number of paladins that he's going to be facing, but he's going to need more than that. Seems like Emin is just kind of waiting for the Imperial Age now. He's got a very large, dangerous looking cavalry archer army, but he's probably just staying back. He's either going for a lot of battering rams and going now, or he's just waiting for the Imperial Age until he's able to go to the Imperial Age. Going to check that siege workshop. Just one battering ram, one mangonel. I don't know, it's kind of hard to judge his intentions. In fact, his resources would suggest that he's going to be sticking around Castle Age for a while longer, so maybe he is going to do a Castle Age push with lots of siege and just whatever this is, 50, 60 cavalry archers. Look at these walls from Vodka. He's just, they want to have a very, very safe trade. They're actually walling the entire middle of the map, and it's quite nice because look at all this extra gold that they're actually getting on their side of the map. But yeah, they're a little bit standoffish on this side of the map at the moment. Emin's just preparing his push. It would have been nice to see him have at least one more siege workshop, because you can see that he wants to, once he's got a lot of siege, he just wants to get ready to go. Look at this mangonel shot. Taking down the mangonel but doing almost no splash damage to the crossbows. When Emin popped that mangonel out, I was anticipating that there would just be huge splash damage on the crossbows as well as taking out the mangonel, but it didn't quite work out like that. The battering rams coming out though is really nice, because it just means that ACCM just has the GB. He just can't stay there against all those CL on a hill when a couple of battering rams are taking away his shots, and this town centre is going to be gone very, very soon. I mean, only now doing Thumb Ring, but that will be all of the Castle Age upgrades done for his cavalry archers, and ACCM is looking in so much trouble. And he's not really going to be getting loads of help from his pocket or anything like that, because Yannick and Yellow are at a fairly similar stage of the game. Not much difference between the two of them, I don't think. Yellow did eventually get ahead again in village account, but we can see that Melkor is using his early Imperial Age with the sling and everything and fast paladin to come over here and just wreck Yellow. So even as Yellow got a little bit ahead of Yannick in boom terms, he's just being pegged back yet again. And Melkor is basically ignoring the Mayan player, Fish, and he's just gonna focus on the pockets, because he's probably more worried about Huns and Mongols than he is about a Mayan player who seems pretty far behind and is still in the Castle Age. You wouldn't normally expect to see a flank Mayans playing standard and still being in the Castle Age after this amount of time. So Melkor's just going to go aim for the power civs rather than Mayans, because normally the power of Mayans in team game, as well as the war bonuses, they get that early Imperial Age and use the kind of like first few minutes that they're in Imperial to do a really strong push when other civs perhaps aren't ready for that. But as the game wears on, plumed archers and such become less of a factor, and Fish didn't even go into plumed archers very early at all. He's going to be going, maybe he'll do Arbalest, but Melkor doesn't need to be scared of that, so he's just focusing on pockets. He wants those pockets out of the way. see that this trade for the 13th Legion is starting to get off the ground as well. They're going to have a really nice trade line. It's going to be extremely safe due to Vodka's efforts with this walling, and those efforts continue. I mean, it's being forced away a little bit for now because obviously there was a bit of a lag time whilst Yannick switched into Elite Mangudai, with Edmund choosing to stick around in the Castle Age for a long time and just make a massive cavalry archer army. He's suddenly finding himself very much out-teched by Cavaliers with +4 armour, I would assume, from yellow. That, yeah, he's done +4. So Edmund's army is kind of at risk if it gets caught out by these Cavaliers and crossbows. Just needs to wait for Yannick to probably just 1 or 2 more minutes before he's properly getting that massive Mangudai. Finally, Fish is starting to threaten Melkor, but he's only got like 10 halbs and like 20 crossbows, so it doesn't take many paladins to actually take care of that. And Melkor of course has a lot of paladins. He's got a 38, but I guess he's probably still receiving the sling from Vodka, who still isn't leaving the feudal age, and Melkor's probably going to be able to continue flooding paladins for quite a long time, especially once that trade kicks in. No big engagement on the left for now, which I feel is just playing into the hands of the 13th Legion, because it's just giving Yannick time to get more of those Mangudai. Obviously, if they're able to force a fight with Cavaliers over here, whilst Yannick is kind of out of position and still waiting for that mass, then yeah, the VNS will do okay. But this is a nice position for M in between the stables. The Cavaliers can't really do their work so much, and I feel like if Emin loses this army, which he won't anyway, because he's got heavy cavalry archery up on a hill, that would probably come at the cost of both players for VNS losing their armies, and then you've just got Yannick having free reign over here with Elite Mangudai. Seems like Melkor probably just received or sold resources to get gold. His farming eco is looking kind of flimsy for continuing to spam paladins, but there's probably somebody else on his team who can send him food. And this massive paladins, it depends whether he chooses to engage this. It's obviously never a great idea to chuck your gold units away against halbs, but the halbs will win the fight. It's just that, it's food and blood versus... Sorry, the paladins will win the fight against the halbs, it's just that it's not gold effective, if you like. You can see now, though, you've got 2 players in the Imperial Age, Heavy Cavalry Archer and Mangudai. Not the greatest combined arms force, if you like, because they're both doing the same job, with Cavalry Archer just being slightly worse, but it's definitely a lot better than having crossbowmen, because ACCM is just been stuck in the Castle Age for most of this game, being so far behind, only now getting to the Imperial Age, but just as he gets to the Imperial Age, he loses all of his army pretty much. Melkor's going to add in a few hand cannons actually, just to kind of take that fight against the halberdiers more effectively. The few monks that Fish had are helping out, and it feels like in the last few minutes the game has just become slightly more even in terms of score, although I think that's a bit illusory, because I think Melkor's going to clean this up once he gets the combined arms forces that he wants. Just a few extra hand cannoneers to go with his paladins, and all of this will be gone. I haven't really seen any Mangudai production starting up from the from VNS. Cool. He's just doing heavy camels, and I don't think the army of the VNS on this side is really going to be able to have the enough firepower and enough staying power to beat back the Mangudai of Yannick once that gets properly rolling. So even though the scores kind of evened up a little bit, I would not sure the actual game situation is evened up. And of course, the trade for the 13th Legion is starting to kick in. You see, like a decent stream of trade carts now, with Spanish trade from corner to corner. Massive amounts of gold. I'm actually going to just try and find one trade cart, going back to see how much gold that is. 163, that's enormous. A few heavy camels kind of helping out Fish against Melkor. And it feels like a lot of paladins are going down, and that sort of like particular part of this fight. The VNS players are just about winning, but the problem is that's 2 players playing against 1. And Vodka now is in the castle age, so he's probably not going to be slinging forever. It may be that now, finally, he's going to make some kind of transition. And the thing is that a few moments ago, like Iridium's eco was looking a little bit, well, Melkor's eco was looking a little bit precarious. It was looked at, you know, there didn't seem to be as many farmers, but it seems like he's recovered that a little bit. All he needs to do, I feel like, is just hold for a little while whilst Vodka gets into the game, and I think by that point the 13th Legion could well have won on the left, but it does feel like just some bad fights are going on, because, you know, I looked at the armies and I thought, it's looking pretty threatening for the 13th Legion on both sides, but VNS have made some nice trades, and the army numbers have kind of evened up. It's definitely still in the balance, but I still feel like the 13th Legion are kind of on the aggressive, and Emin, importantly, is making a switch into Cavaliers now, and eventually over here we're going to see Paladins and Mangidai versus Paladins and Chukanu, which, you know, with backed up by Mongol siege and stuff, will be, the 13th Legion's army will be stronger on the left hand side. Melkor beginning to get a decent mass again. He did like lose quite a bit of military at one point, but he's starting to recover those military numbers a bit, continuing to flood Paladins for sort of from about 7 stables. And with hand cannoneers in the back, they'll make short works of any halbs that try to move in. But still, this is a lot of firepower, with a decent amount of Mangidai from VNS Call finally appearing on the scene, and as tanky as Paladins are, they can't stand there and tank that fire forever. And it seems like Melkor, although he's doing okay, just about holding that fight, he's slowly losing ground, and he's going to need a little bit of help, maybe either from Yannick coming from the other side or from Vodka finally getting into the game. But I think that is what's going to happen. It's going to be Vodka coming finally with some plumed archers. You can see he's halfway to the Imperial Age, and once Melkor is being supported by those plumed archers there on the right hand side, I think he will be fine. You see that ACCM is struggling in another way, because he just can't mat up Chukanu or anything like that, because he's basically out of gold. His main gold was here, he's mined all of that, and then he's trying to mine this gold in the front, but with Mangidai there, cavalry archer there, 2 forward gold mines, he really can't take gold anymore, and he's been forced into doing some skirmishes, and he's just not able to offer any kind of resistance to this hugely powerful mixed force of Paladins, elite Mangidai and heavy cavalry archer that 13th Legion have over here. And it feels like, even though like nice pressure is being applied to Melkor, ACCM is probably going to be the flank that collapses first. If Yannick just gets the siege going, I think he's been kind of slow in getting that Mongol siege. He's backing up his own Mangidai. Melkor goes kind of conceding a little bit of ground here, but that's fine, because he's just backing away behind a couple more bombard towers, backing away to this hill, and Vodko's ready. He hasn't got, obviously he's only just hitting the Imperial Age, so it's still going to take a couple of minutes for plumed archers. Don't know how many castles he's got actually. Just the 2 for now, so he's trying to put a third one on that hill, which is just a really good spot. And this is looking like a pretty defensible location for the 13th Legion. It's just that they need to be careful of these Mangidai just going straight through here, because they could reach the trade. There's no walls on this part of the map. For all that Vodka spent all of that time walling the middle, there are no walls on the right hand side, and if Melkor's base does collapse just that little bit, then the Mangidai have got a clean route to the trade. You can see that what's happening here though is that ACCM just can't fight at all, because he's just got nothing. He's got no gold. And you can't, like, I'd say that Yannick has been slightly ahead of VNS Call in terms of Mangidai production throughout the game as well. So that kind of leaves ACCM on his own against Emin. a bit, and obviously he's just so far behind Emin and such worse units that he would never win that. But Yannick here is such effective Mangudai raiding in the trade. The only like negative from his point of view is that there's only so much trade here. It's not a like massive amount of trade for him to pick up. But it seems like a lot of the cards are kind of cog at this end actually. So maybe he'll find a different position and pick those up when they come back here to restock their gold. Really nice pick off here with 10 villagers. Over on the right hand side, Melkor's going to be fine now because he's got the backup from Plumed Archers from Vodka. Elite Plume is 50% done. And really just those plumes behind the paladins to help pick off some halberdiers and just sort of trade fire with the archery units from VNS is kind of all Melkor needs to support with his paladins. Meanwhile, ACCM is just collapsing. Cast on the hill gone. He can't mine gold anywhere on the map. I don't really know if he's got any trade going, and certainly Yannick has just probably taken care of that if he did. It feels like it's going to be just a few moments until all of this goes down. Now that Yannick finally has siege, adding in capped rams, obviously siege rams coming in from Emin and Trebs, and ACCM's base is not going to be here for too much longer. I think. I see that VNS Call is not a big fan of Vodka's walls in the middle, but they're just going to shore that up. Finally, Melkor is remassing a huge number of paladins, but he doesn't really want to go in there without the plume support. Vodka just a little bit late coming to help, and now he's shooting at rams. Not ideal. But it seems that his objective in moving forward there was simply to take down the trebuchets, which will of course hold the line of the bombard towers and the production facilities and the castle, and that just buys Vodka just a couple more minutes to get all important upgrades done, like chemistry and archer armor, etc. Does have elite plume now, which on the hill is going to be really strong. This is starting to look like the last stand of VNS on the left hand side, with Yellow just concentrating all of his paladins here, but Yannick's Mangudai got onto the hill, which means that they're able to take a decent fight against Yellow's paladins, even though they're under the castle, and that just buys time for Emin's siege to just tread down this castle. So ACCM really is just collapsing. And right now on this right hand side, it seems that Melkor and Vodka are now ready to push back. Obviously Paladin plus Plumed Archer, like the mix of the very, very strong melee unit with the archers. I'd say a better combination than two archery units over here. And Yannick's going in for another raid in the trade if he's able to get there. Just half a dozen Mangudai for now. You see that ACCM now is just losing his base, lost all of his forward production facilities. 13th Legion are stealing his gold, and he's trying to reboom backwards, which is only going to last for so long, because the 13th Legion can just continue to steamroll now with this Paladin plus Mangudai plus Siege Onager and Siege Ram and Trebuchet force, which means that Melkor and Vodka don't have to like overcommit on this right hand side. They've been holding this line for 10 minutes now, and they'll at least continue to do that even if they don't actually push back VNS, because it's really just a time bomb ticking on the left hand side. I see that by ACCM score he's actually much lower than Vodka when Vodka was slinging all game, so up until now. You can see that he's kind of pretty much out of it. His population dropped down to 80, he's only got 9 military, and all of those are probably skirmishers. See Cool's trying to find his way into the trade and try and make that like last throw of the dice perhaps, but there are castles in the trade line and paladins from Melkor chasing after them. Yannick's also on the case as well. He's not going to allow this trade raiding to go on, because that's probably the only way that VNS could hold it, is if the gold for 13th Legion starts to run out, but no sign of that. And now that we've got Spanish and Mayans both in the Imperial Age with the units that they want to have, which, you know, Paladins, Bombard Towers, and then Elite Plumed Archers and some siege from the Mayan player backing it up, like either Trebs or Siege Rams. That combination is just very hard to fight against, and 2 archery units with no siege backup for 13th Legion Mongol and Mayan players just isn't cutting it. And as I said, even as ACCM tries to rebuild backwards, it's, you know, the momentum from 13th Legion on this side is just too much. ACCM's army is still limited to a handful of skirmishers, and once kind of this castle and a couple of bombard towers go down, there'll probably be one decisive fight against these paladins, and then they are 100% just in the trade. You know, no longer just raiding the trade, literally in the trade with the entire army, and at that point, it will just be a complete death sentence for 13th Fleet. Sorry, for VNS. And here's that decisive fight against the Paladins, and we can see that even though Yellow did have like 20 Paladins on this hill, I only moved away for a few seconds, came back, and the Paladins for Yellow have just evaporated. So really there is just nothing on this side now. Yellow is down to 20 army, and not wherever that is, it's not here. There are, you know, 3 Paladins retreating, and ACCM is just running with everything. VNS Cool is just typing 11, so he's just laughing at the situation, because both flanks now are just dying. ACCM is almost wiped off the face of the map, and then this flank is being pushed, and VNS Fisher is just losing all of his forward production and eventually his base. And he's called GG, but only to his team. But now we see that VNS are telling 13th Legion GG, and that means 13th Legion go ahead, take this 1-0 first game, Dry Arabia, and take the lead in the series. Remember, it's a best of 5, so each match is pretty important in that situation. Not many games to. I'm just going to show the achievements. What we'll see, really, I think, is the story of the game. It's just that ACCM didn't recover from that bad start where he had his ball stolen by Emin as Chinese, and then was just behind in the whole game. You can see resources collected just so little for him. He couldn't face off against the like fully boomed Imperial Age Hun player in Emin. And then obviously we saw a pretty nice sling from Vodka, allowing Melkor to go 2v1 on his flank as Spanish against Mayans and Mongols for a while, until Vodka is ready to support him with Imperial Age plumed archers. And we can see that the 13th Legion also kind of re-slung Vodka back into the game once it was kind of apparent that Melkor, although he'd done really well up until a certain point, he did need support from his pocket, and that was so they just kind of like hastened Vodka's reinforcements by re-slinging him. And I guess those two things are the story of the game, as well as the fact that Iridium did a great job, Melkor did a great job of raiding the pockets, because he saw that VNS Fish or Shakopee Orion was really far behind as Mayans. Like, he was hitting the Imperial Age at like 36 minutes with crossbows instead of plumed archers, so you know, he wasn't a danger to Melkor at all, really. So Melkor just focused on the pockets, really set the Mongol pocket back, and let Yannick get ahead in terms of Mangudai production, even though Cool was just booming from the start, whereas Yannick did scouts. And so normally in that situation you'd expect Yannick to be a bit slower up to Imperial Age and massing Mangudai, but no, Cool was just set so far back by the effective raiding from Melkor's Knights that you know, like every single player on the VNS team was just playing catch up. They ended up all behind the 13th Legion players. So I think that the team play there from 13th Legion was really effective and really good. We've seen some performances in this tournament where they haven't like demonstrated that level of team play, but I said that in the series that I casted, which was against the Old Men, they seem to find their teamwork from 2-0 down and nearly come back and win that series.